The court-martial lasted 3 minutes. General Ren didn't speak when they tore the star from his chest, the insignia of the highest tactical mind in the kingdom. Ripped away like cheap cloth, his gray eyes stayed calm, as if he'd already accepted this verdict. A regiment slaughtered in an ambush that never should have happened. They named him the cause. Sentence: demotion to stable hand at the Royal Academy. A public humiliation designed to break him.
So you've finally come, Ren.
They gave him a pitchfork and a stall full of dung. He took both without protest.
This is fine. Lower than I've ever been, but also invisibly.
Why aren't you fighting back? Why are you smiling?
The disgraced general picked up his pitchfork and smiled as if he'd won something no one else could see. While the stable hand settled into his punishment, Cadet Hayato was running. Away from the training grounds, away from the scoreboard that listed her dead last. She ducked into the stables, a place no instructor would think to look for their worst cadet.
That Hayato girl, she'll be cleaning latrines before the month is out.
They're right. I am not cut out for this, but there's nowhere else to go.
She slumped against a stall door, and a scrap of paper fluttered to the ground. Dense, neat handwriting covered the page. It was a tactical diagram. Supply lines, ambush counters, formations. She'd never seen in any textbook.
Who would leave something like this in a stable?
She read it twice, then 3 times. Her pulse steadied carefully. She folded the page and slipped it into her tunic. Her eyes darted around, but the stable was empty. She didn't leave until the lanterns were lit. And when she did, a tiny, foolish hope had taken root. The next morning, before the bugle sounded, Hayato crept onto the empty training ground. She recalled the diagram from the scrap of paper. Each arrow and defensive rotation burned into her memory. Alone, she moved through the formation. It was flawless, the counter-ambush sequence flowing like water.
It worked. It actually worked. Who wrote this? How?
That afternoon, she returned to the stables, pulse hammering. Tucked under a bucket was another note, identical handwriting.
This one's about supply routes. It's even more detailed, as if it was left on purpose.
In the hayloft above, Ren watched the pink-haired cadet press the page to her chest. His half-smile deepened.
So she found them. Good. Let's see if she can use them.
By the end of the week, Hayato's score had crept 1 rank upward. Not enough to be noticed by the instructors, but enough for her to feel the shift. She began to visit the stables daily, and every day, a new note appeared, almost as if the writer knew exactly what she needed. 2 weeks later, Instructor Kane stared at the scoreboard. Hayato's name had climbed 5 ranks overnight.
You, Hayato. Explain how the worst cadet suddenly understands flanking formations it took others years to grasp.
I've been studying, applying myself. Is that a crime?
Then extra drills. Every evening, I'll watch you personally, see how you manage without your little cheat sheets.
That night, exhausted and bruised, she stumbled into the stables. Pinned to her stall was a note with 3 times the previous detail.
A full battalion maneuver. He's testing me, but I won't break, not after I've come this far.
Above in the hayloft, Ren noted the fresh scrapes on her arms. He pulled out charcoal and began sketching something even more advanced.
She's being pushed. I'll answer with harder lessons. If she withstands this, she'll be ready for what comes next.
She copied the diagrams long after the lanterns dimmed, memorizing supply routes and ambush counters. The notes never stopped coming. The extra drills became brutal. But every night, the stables pulled her back, and every lesson drew her closer to a truth she couldn't yet name. The mock battle was meant to humiliate her, a public spectacle to prove she'd cheated. Instead, she dismantled the top-ranked cadet in under 10 minutes.
The supply route fix. It shattered his defense completely. I am not the same cadet anymore.
The training ground went silent. Then, scattered applause turned into a roar of disbelief.
That was no academy tactic. Who taught you to dismantle a supply chain like that?
I studied. You assigned extra drills. Maybe I just learned.
Kane grabbed her arm, demanding answers. She met his eyes and said nothing more. By evening, the academy buzzed with whispers of a hidden teacher. Ren sharpened his charcoal, listening. Kane stared at the new rankings. Hayato's name now in the top third. The numbers taunted him. He would find out. Even if he had to tear the stables apart stone by stone. Unseen, the stable hand noted the storm brewing and kept writing, a quiet step ahead. Kane's search was brutal. He ripped each stall open until his hand closed around a scrap of parchment covered in precise diagrams. The handwriting was unmistakable. The same neat, sharp script he'd seen on Hayato's hidden notes. He found the stable hand raking hay. The man barely glanced up.
These tactics, they aren't yours. They belong to a general. How did a stable rat get them?
You'd be surprised what ends up in the straw. Cadets drop things.
Kane seized the pages and stormed out, promising destruction. Ren watched him go, unmoving. The headmistress's office door slammed open. Kane threw the notes onto her desk.
That stable hand is writing battle doctrine. He's corrupting cadets. I want him dismissed.
I will handle the stable hand. Personally. Dismissed.
Ren went back to his stall. Outside, the academy stirred, but for now, the headmistress held the secret. Alone in her office, Naomi spread the seized notes across her desk. Her manicured hand hovered, trembling.
It's his writing. After all these years, his mind hasn't dulled one bit.
She extinguished the lamp. An hour later, she stood at the stable entrance, a single lantern in hand. The stable was empty. She found the latest note pinned to the stall, its ink still fresh. In her mind, a younger Naomi stood at a command table, moving the wrong markers, a regiment swallowed by fire. Her panic, the sealed report, Ren's name signed over her mistake. She had been the only one who could survive the blame. Back in the stable, Naomi's hand shook. She folded the note and slipped it into her coat. She would study it later.
Foolish to think he'd just vanish. He's still teaching, still dangerous. But I can't destroy these. I need them.
She left the stables as quietly as she came. The lantern cast long, jagged shadows behind her. Ren, in the hayloft above, opened one eye. He had not been asleep. He had heard footsteps. The trap was simple. Extra lanterns, 4 guards, and Kane waiting in the dark. Hayato never stood a chance. She slipped through the back window, the new note already clutched in her fingers. The lantern flared before she took 3 steps.
I knew it. Every weakling has a cheat. Now we'll see who's been writing your tactics.
Number, if they find the writer, it's over. He'll be punished because of me.
Kane's hand locked around her wrist. Suspension. He spat, then expulsion. But a voice cut through the dark.
Release the girl. Those notes are mine. I forced her to study them.
You, a stable rat teaching tactics, don't waste my breath.
Former infantry. Dishonorably discharged. The theories were my obsession. She was just a convenient student.
They locked him in the empty feed room. No windows, no company, and double the labor. Hayato was released, but confined to barracks, guilt gnawing at her chest.
Why? Why would he throw himself away from me?
Within a day, the rumor coiled through the barracks. The stable hand was General Ren, the disgraced strategist who had supposedly slaughtered a regiment. Hayato heard it through the barracks door, a name she had only seen in history scrolls. Her chest tightened.
It can't be. But the tactics, the handwriting, it all fits. He's the real general.
That night, she slipped out of the barracks window. Landing soundlessly on the wet grass, she found him in the stables, pitchfork in hand, a guard watching from the corner.
You are him, the general. Why did you teach me? Why take the fall?
Ren's gray eyes held hers. No confirmation, no denial. Just a long, quiet look that said everything.
He's not going to say it, but he doesn't need to. This whole time, he chose to stay, to teach me.
She stepped back, swallowing the questions. There was a new weight in her stride, a promise. Ren watched her leave. For the first time, his half-smile held no irony. The tactical simulation roster was posted at dawn. Among the chosen names, one drew every stare. Hayato.
The weakest cadet in the grand simulation. Don't you dare embarrass us.
They have no idea what I've learned. I won't let his sacrifice be meaningless.
In the dark feed room, Ren scratched his final diagram onto a shred of sackcloth. A stable boy, bribed with bread, smuggled the cloth inside a water flask. She unfolded it in the barracks corner. A single, perfect counter to a simulated encirclement.
This is the key. If I can execute it, no one will stop me.
From her window, the headmistress watched the yard. She called for the guard captain.
Free the stable hand, but keep him watched. I want to observe his reactions during the simulation.
The iron bar slid back. Ren stepped into the lantern glow, a new scrap of paper hidden in his palm. The simulation chamber hummed alive. Hayato's fingers flew across the interface, deploying the encirclement counter before her opponent could breathe. In the headmistress's gallery, Naomi's fingers tightened on the armrest. That formation. It was Ren's. A flashback clawed into her mind. The command tent, the map, her own gloved hand sliding the regiment marker into the ravine. She had been told the enemy was retreating. The scouts were wrong. When the ambush erupted, she sealed the report with Ren's forged signature. The screams, then the silence. She survived by painting him as the butcher. In the present, Hayato shattered a defensive line. The hall roared with disbelief.
Every move she makes, it's his ghost. He's still here, winning through her.
Below, in the shadows, Ren stood with a guard. His chin lifted, a whisper of a smile, proud and private. Naomi's hand trembled violently. She hid it under her cape, but the shaking wouldn't stop. The simulation had become more than a test. It was a reckoning for the one watching from the high seat. Her squadron was pinned at the river crossing. Red markers swept in from the flanks, a perfect ambush, and for 2 heartbeats, Hayato froze.
This isn't in any note. I have to break the pattern. Create a counter he never taught me.
She sacrificed the rear guard to bait the encirclement, then drove her center through a gap no textbook predicted. In the shadows, Ren's hand dropped from his chin. That was no borrowed tactic. She had forged her own. The red markers scattered. The gallery erupted, not polite applause, but raw, disbelieving noise. Naomi's face went bloodless. Her gloved fingers dug into the chair arm until the stitching creaked.
That was mine. A strategy born in the moment. I am not just a vessel for his knowledge. I am a tactician.
She didn't need me anymore. She needed only the room to think.
The headmistress rose, her posture rigid. She had watched him almost smile. She had watched a dead general live through another's hands. The final match waited. But in that moment, the stable hand had already won something he'd lost years ago. The final match was a grueling siege. For 40 minutes, the holographic armies bled each other dry. And Hayato's voice grew hoarse with orders. She won by a breath. An enemy supply calculation off by 3 seconds. The blue banner unfurled across the grid, and the arena shook. Hands pulled her to the podium. The roaring cadets drowned out her own heartbeat.
The Academy demands to know who trained you. Name them.
Hayato's gaze swept the shadows. She found him, a silhouette, gray eyes calm, leaning against a pillar.
I have no teacher to name. What I learned, I earned.
Lies. You'll name the stable rat or you'll...
From the high gallery, a voice like frozen steel cut through the noise.
Enough. The cadet has answered. The simulation is concluded.
In the chaos, The stable hand turned and walked toward the side exit. No one followed. No one saw his smile fade. Hayato stood apart from the celebration. The noise felt hollow. The only praise she wanted had already vanished into the shadows. Ren brushed a saddle alone in the stable. No guard watched. He expected a different visitor tonight. A guard appeared at the door. "The headmistress summons you." Ren set down the brush without a word. The headmistress's office smelled of tea and old paper. Naomi sat behind her desk, the lamplight cutting her face in half.
Stay silent about the past, and I will ensure Hayato graduates with honors and a command.
Why does a disgraced stable hand's silence matter to you? Why protect a cadet you barely know?
Her talent is unexpected. It shouldn't be wasted.
The teacup rattled against the saucer. Ren noted the tremor, the same fracture he'd seen in officers who were hiding a truth.
You are not protecting her from punishment. You are protecting yourself from a truth I've already stopped caring about.
Behind Naomi, the dark window reflected a face crumbling for an instant before the mask sealed itself back into place.
I don't want your deal. I've stopped caring about what you need to bury.
The teacup shattered on the floor. Naomi didn't flinch.
It was my mistake. The regiment died because I moved them into that ravine. I sealed the report with your forged signature. I framed you because I was too valuable to execute. I told myself you'd be sent away, not dragged through the courts. I wanted you to run, to live somewhere your mind could breathe. But you chose to muck stables instead. Take this academy. You are the only person worthy of it.
Ren's face was unreadable. The lamplight carved shadows under his cheekbones. He stood. The chair legs groaned against the floor. Every sound felt amplified in the thick silence. Naomi's hands lay in her lap, white and empty. The tea stain spread like old blood on the desk.
I don't want your chair. I want to teach one cadet at a time in the stables.
Ren turned without another word. The door closed with a soft click that echoed through the room. Naomi remained seated, the weight of his refusal pressing her deeper into the chair.
He won't even take revenge. He just wants to go back to the stables.
She stared at the shattered teacup. The stain had stopped spreading. Then her hand moved, almost on its own, pulling a clean sheet of paper from the drawer. She dipped the pen. The ink glistened under the lamplight, like a confession already forming. The first line was a name, hers. The second line was the word she had avoided for years: resign.
Let him teach. Let him have his stables. I will give him the truth.
Her hand shook, but she didn't stop. Each stroke stripped a layer of the life she had built on his silence. By the time the lantern sputtered, the letter was sealed. The headmistress had written her own end. At dawn, the academy bell tolled not for drills, but for assembly. Every cadet, every instructor, pressed into the main hall.
I have summoned you to hear a truth I buried for years. The regiment's slaughter was my error, mine alone.
A gasp ripped through the hall. Hayato lunged forward, but a firm hand caught her shoulder.
Don't. This is hers to finish.
I framed General Ren. I signed his name on a forged report to survive. He is innocent of all charges. Effective immediately, I resign as headmistress. My authority ends with this letter.
The hall erupted in chaos. In the uproar, a royal court representative, silent until now, raised a scroll bearing the crown's seal. The official's voice cut through the noise, addressing the entire academy. By order of the crown, General Ren is fully reinstated and offered command of the northern garrison, with all honors restored. Every face turned toward the ash-gray hair at the back. The stable hand stood in the eye of the storm. Ren walked forward. The crowd parted like water around him. He stopped before the royal official and the shattered headmistress.
I refuse the command. I refuse the honors. I am no longer a general. What I am is a teacher. Let me teach in the stables, one cadet at a time.
The official stood stunned. Then he bowed his head and spoke. "The crown respects the choice of the innocent. May the Academy honor your decision." Hayato pushed through the silent cadets. Her eyes glistened, but her chin was high.
Then I am your first student, officially, publicly. Whatever you teach, I will learn.
Ren's half-smile returned, but this time it was soft, genuine, and held no ghosts.
Then let's get back to work.
The disgraced general had chosen his pitchfork. The stables became a classroom, and the teacher had finally come home. 3 days after the assembly, the stables no longer felt like a punishment. Hayato arrived before dawn, practicing a sword kata that combined Ren's footwork with her own flair.
Your back foot is still drifting. A strategy is only as solid as the ground beneath it.
By the time the morning bell rang, 4 cadets had gathered in the doorway, watching in silence.
No. Look, if you hold this crossroads, you strangle their supply. Ren taught me that.
Her name now topped the scoreboard, but she spent more hours in the stables than the lecture halls.
She's teaching others now. The cycle begins.
Hayato threw her head back and laughed, a real bright sound that echoed off the wood.
You could at least pretend to be impressed.
Ren leaned on his pitchfork and watched the sunset catch the towers. The silence was his answer, and it was enough. After the last cadet slipped away, Hayato found him exactly where she'd expected, leaning on his pitchfork, the sunset painting his silhouette.
I never properly thanked you for all of it.
Ren said nothing. He reached over and ruffled her pink hair, once, gently. She wanted to protest, but a laugh escaped instead, short, wet, and utterly relieved.
Of course, that's his answer.
She turned toward the barracks, her steps lighter than they'd ever been. At the gate, she raised a hand without looking back. Ren watched until the gate swallowed her shadow. The academy towers seemed closer than they had in years.
Not bad. For a stable hand.
The sky deepened to crimson, drinking the last gold from the stable roof. He picked up the pitchfork and stepped inside. There would be new notes to write before morning. By the 3rd week, the stream of shy cadets had become a small river. They came at odd hours, clutching empty notebooks. Ren gave them pitchforks and empty stalls before he gave them diagrams. No one complained. When they finished, a scrap of paper would appear by their canteen, a supply route fix, a repositioning drill, never a word of praise. Hayato led the daily drills in the yard. Her voice carried the same rhythm Ren had used in the hayloft, patient and precise.
Don't just copy. Find the why. If you can't explain it to the horse, you don't understand it yet.
The instructors no longer sneered at the stables. Some even paused at the fence to listen before walking on. Ren never interfered with the drills. He leaned on his pitchfork at the doorway, a quiet sentinel, and let the sound wash over him. One evening, a junior cadet asked him why he stayed. Ren just tapped the pitchfork on the ground and said nothing. The cadet would later write in a journal, "The stable hand knows something they don't teach in lectures. He knows how to make you want to be better." And the stables hummed with quiet purpose, a place no longer of disgrace, but of slow, stubborn learning. Each evening, Ren leaned against the stable door and watched Hayato lead the gathering cadets through the quieting sunset. Her voice was crisp now, a drill master's edge, but she still smiled when a junior cadet got it right. By the time the last drill ended, the cadets were breathing hard and laughing, their uniforms dusty and proud. Ren's half-smile held. He tapped the pitchfork handle once, an old habit, then let his shoulders rest. Hayato paused at the gate and looked back. He raised a hand, just a flick of fingers. She nodded and vanished into the barracks. The sun bled deep crimson behind the ancient academy towers. The yard was empty now, the dust settling in the hush. The image pulls back, a slow widening. The stable becomes a small, warm shape, the drilling figures barely visible specks, and then As if written by the charcoal that once scratched on blanket cloth, a quiet, indelible line speaks out. The disgraced general chose the stables, and the stables became a legend. The pitchfork cast a long shadow. The teacher had never needed a title, and he had never wanted one.